All right, welcome into Johnny's Garage. Y'all all know me. You know the big ugly guy on the screen at the bottom. But we got
talk about Alan like that.
We got a special guest with us, and if you don't know this man, you better go back and watch some old video, because this is the man who trained half the people just by watching him. This is the great Alan Martin.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Alan's camera's a little fuzzy, but he's good and clear on the microphone. So if you see him freeze, he's still with us. All right.
I ain't going nowhere.
Alan, when did you start wrestling? We're going to do a little bit of background.
1984.
So you pretty much started right when some of them videos I've been putting up are on the thing.
Yeah.
And was Randy Barber the one who got you in?
You know, well, Randy trained me, but I went into Mike Jackson's school, and we all trained in this little bitty storefront type building, and you could stand in the middle of the ring and touch the ceiling. And I have kicked them lights out of that building more than once.
Well, I'll tell you, all these training places sound the same, because you've been in the garage.
Yeah.
And please explain to these people, maybe they don't believe us, maybe they'll believe a legend in the business. What was that ring like?
Concrete comes to mind.
You said something funny last time we talked to you. You said you still think that was a deck off of some old house.
Yeah, I believe it was.
I don't think you
don't think it, you know it, huh? There was another ring that I worked in. It was up North Alabama, and the guy's name was Alvin Wallace. Have any of y'all worked for Alvin?
I've heard the name, but I've never worked for him.
Yeah, he's dead and gone now, but he built him a ring out of 4x4s and 2x12s. It was literally a deck. And I told Mike to throw me in the floor because the floor was softer than that ring. So, and it was rough. And it's kind of like the garage.
Well, that was the thing. We whenever we went to a show and somebody said, "Man, that's a hard ring," we just kind of laughed. You know.
Yeah.
I wrestled in a ring like Alan just described up in Clarksville, Tennessee. We're doing a show for Rob Devine, and they built the ring on site. And I had to wrestle Disco Hillbilly that night. And walking in that ring, my hair was rubbing the ceiling. And if you've met Disco, Disco Hillbilly was as tall as I am. And I ended up giving him a snap suplex in that ring, and he quit right then. He was like, I'm done with this match. It's over. That ring was so hard, but I was used to it because I trained at Johnny's, you know. Alan, we talking about back in '84. So I met you in '91. When you were doing Southern States with Rock and Rebel and Hurricane Bronson and those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And I did the $100 challenge with you one time.
Absolutely. And I do, because I remember it was with Ken Caradima, and he wanted me to knock you down. And he was over there telling you he wanted me to knock you down, and you were telling him, no, nobody knocks me down on the challenge, because if somebody knocks me down, then everybody will think they can knock me down. And and so I walk up, and you and we had never worked with each other, but we've been around each other. And he said, "Here's the guy I'm talking about." And you looked up at me. So, you mean him? Yeah, this is what you're gonna do. And you walked me right through it. But for the real side of this is what he told me. He said, "Get in the ring. I'm gonna get on you. Keep coming in. When you get all the way in, knock me down." He said, "But after you knock me down, your ass is mine." And he wasn't playing.
I remember that.
So, that was great. That was my introduction into professional wrestling as far as being in front of an audience.
Yeah.
That was my first time.
You met him about the same time I did with Southern States. You might have had a little bit before, because you were up there doing the cameras and stuff before they called me in. But
you were there.
Yeah, one of the first nights though in Southern States, I watched him do the $100 challenge there after he beat up the Iron Sheik and everybody like that.
Yeah.
So, actually, I had a really good introduction into wrestling. I started with the Iron Sheik, Disco Inferno when he was called the Brooklyn Brawler. Alan Martin, and quite a few others that ran through there. And
don't forget Randy. Randy was there. They were tag teaming.
Right. Randy was there. You had the Georgia Boys that were there.
Yeah.
And just tons of people. So I sat in the locker room just amazed at who I was there with. Hey, I'll tell you, I went home many a nights. I didn't care that if they paid me. I didn't care anything. I got to wrestle with these people, and
oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Armstrongs would come in frequently.
I
was doing all the camera work at that time, so I'm filming everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to run into a little story here. Just for Alan. So, Alan, I know you remember this guy. Do you remember Bill Denham?
Bill who?
Bill Denham.
Denham.
All right, you would know him as the Worm.
Yes.
All right, so you remember him? He was a heel manager, and he was also a
purple outfit. He wore a purple suit. Yeah.
No, that was Ken Caradima that wore the purple.
That was Pennsylvania Pete. I'm talking about the little skinny guy. He's like 6 foot tall and weighed 120 pounds. Always wore cowboy boots and a pant. Most of the time it was leather pants with a leather jacket.
This would have been during Southern States.
Yeah, in Southern States.
Okay.
So you used to get
Yes,
heat
I
on
do.
him all
Yes,
the
I
time.
do.
Yeah. I think one of your
Okay.
statements you made one night that sticks out in my mind so much is he was out there talking some kind of mess, and you looked at him and he said, "Man, you could tread water in a hose pipe." And I just died. I'll never forget it. But I was going to talk to you about him since you remember him, right? Because he
Yeah.
was kind of a nervy guy. He'd get on everybody's nerves, floating around,
Yeah.
trying to run different angles and stuff. And so he worked as a radio disc jockey, and
Yeah.
he moonlighted as a night hotel clerk at a hotel in Prattville. And one night, two black men
Okay.
walked in, put a 38 snub nose 38, stuck it right in his face, and pulled the trigger. And they shot him in his
Oh.
right eye.
Mm.
I'm serious. And the bullet
Did
hit
it
him
kill
in
him?
the eye, and the bullet ricocheted down and went through his cheekbone and knocked out all his jaw teeth on the right side and come out the bottom of his jaw. And he
Oh.
turned around and called 911 to come and get
Oh.
these men right after he got shot in the face. He picked up the phone, dialed 911, and said, "I just got shot." And the police happened to be across the street at a service station, and they caught the guys
Oh,
before they got out of the
man.
parking lot. But knowing Bill Dunham, nobody would ever think that he could take a slug to the
No.
face and turn around and call 911. Yeah,
Oh,
but he lived through it. He lost his eye, and he had to have some special surgery done on his jaw to put him back together. But he survived it, and it's just unbelievable. You know,
where's he at now?
I think he's
Where's he
dead
at now?
now. Actually, I think he passed a few years back of natural causes, not of getting.
Oh, okay.
But
Wow.
but you know, he and I worked together. I would film the shows, and then we would go to the studio, and we would produce the shows together. And
Oh,
so
okay.
that whole time that I'm watching you, you were probably the biggest influence on me in wrestling out of all the guys. You were the guy I tried to emulate the most, man. You were the hottest guy out
Oh,
there. I
wow.
loved watching you wrestle, man. And so I
Appreciate it.
tried to fashion my heelness like you, and so. But anyway, I'll let Bogey get back to the real talk.
I done told him the same thing, and he told me he had to have back surgeries, and I asked Alan on one of our conversations setting this up. I says, "Well, what was the back surgeries for?" He says, "The bumps I took." I said, "Well, I'm in trouble then because I tried to do it just like you."
Oh man,
You took. He claims the backdrops. I could sit and watch your arm drags on loop all day because between you and Ricky Steamboat, I don't know who trained your arm drags, but
It to come. Oh, I got a story behind that.
All right, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Well, when I was just a little kid, and we had we lived in a like a 3-room house. When I'm talking about, I was just maybe 3, 4, 5 years old. And how I know how to bump good and take my arm drags is from my dad. He never worked in the business or anything like that. Matter of fact, I think both of you met my dad at one time. But for staying warm in the wintertime, I slept with my dad, and my sister slept with my mama. Well, and I never got in a bed by myself. I would go running through the house, feeding that left arm like I do in an arm drag. And my daddy would grab me by my wrist and chomp me, and I'd go against the wall, and I just smack that wall just about as hard. And another one where I would go running through the house, and my daddy would drop down on one knee and elbow me right in the chest, and I'd go head over heels down the hallway. But that's where I learned how to bump.
Well, you know,
Heck yeah.
didn't you start having your surgery stuff around the time Wrestle Birmingham was going on?
I've already had them.
Because yeah, I know Wrestle Birmingham. You said you shouldn't even be wrestling, and
Yeah.
you went out there with, I think it was Ranger Ross.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, you were the bumping machine you always were.
Yeah. I shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, you go to the locker room and cry after that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that your last match? Was that your last?
No, last match was in Pale City against Joe Hogan and Donnie Martin was my tag partner.
So you did most
and no, I would never let nobody afterwards backdrop me or anything like that. But you know how wrestlers are.
Yep.
The house its place was packed, and I lost my mind. Joe shot me off, and I went to shoot Joe off, and he reversed it. I hit the turnbuckle, and I come out, and he backdropped me, and I took it. And when I hit the mat, my whole left side went numb. But I finised the match on one leg.
You're a true wrestler. See, I'm so glad I grew up in the era and started with you guys, because I'm watching wrestling now. They sprain their elbow and the match has to end.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, that to me, that ain't the business. You get hurt, and suck it up. If you're in an angle with somebody, just because you tweak something, they want to take six months off. No.
That's no fun.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. I was talking to Robert Gibson about 3 weeks ago, and he was telling me he was up in New York. And one of the things he said, man, he said, you wouldn't believe this. And I said, what's going on? He said, they have a team of doctors that are riding with the show now. He said they have a makeshift hospital that rides with the show. And so I'm like, man, ain't never. I mean, if we broke something, we'd tape it up and go, we'd just keep going. Yeah. And, it's like, what is the number one cure for back pain? Entrance music, right? Play my music. I'm all right, right? And so he's telling me that. And it just blew my mind, because we would never even think about something like that. Maybe we should have. Hindsight says maybe we should have thought about that, but we didn't.
We did not do it.
Alan, every time I hear your music on the radio, the first thing I think of is, man, him and David Lee and Mike Davis and all them watching you. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't even think about the song.
Yeah, I do the same thing when different people's music come on. I've always think about them, especially Bob.
I know my children does not know anything about Bad to the Bone. They know Bob Armstrong. They hear Bad to the Bone come on, and they don't go, that's George Thorogood. They go, that's Bob's music. That's Bob Armstrong.
Yeah, that's Bob's music.
Yeah.
I was on a show one time that a guy was going to use that Bad to the Bone.
Oh no.
And I walked up to him and I said, I'll break your arm if you let them play that.
Yeah.
You're not Bullet Bob Armstrong, and you never will be. You better find you something else. It's respect, brother. Respect.
I grew up in the business. If my music was the same, it wasn't that night. It was changed.
Yeah.
No, we were taught how to respect our elders in the business. Now,
Yeah.
Let's do some real talk here. Let's talk real talk about wrestling. When we were coming up in the business, and we're in a locker room, we had our ears open and our mouths shut. We're listening
Yeah.
to what and I'm going to people like you, asking you to watch my match, to tell me what I can do better, and I expect that I'm going to get my ass chewed for it because that's what I want, you know. And
exactly.
These guys now don't care about the old guys. They don't care about all that wisdom and that knowledge, you know. And they don't, and they wonder why they can't put anybody in the seats.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They can't draw an audience.
Well, the art of working is out the window. And they all want to be movie stars, you know. To me, that's good.
I hate to take anything from Kevin Brennan, but Kevin Brennan put the best name on him that I ever heard. Kevin looked up one day and we were talking about some guys. I said, Kevin, who are these guys? He looks up and goes, oh, that's just a bunch of spot monkeys. And so that was probably the best description that I've ever heard. Spot monkeys.
Yeah.
That's all they know how to do is spot after spot after spot. They don't know how to
paint
work
a picture.
A match.
Yeah. Like when I was coming up, Randy says it's like a painter with a paintbrush. You paint a picture. And as you're painting that picture, it'll come out until you get done with it. And you listen to your fans. You know, I've done matches with like Scott Armstrong and Steve where the people was not buying my serious stuff. And that you just couldn't make them buy it. You know, when we was doing the serious stuff and I'm trying to get heat, they just turn around talking to one another. You know, so I said, what can I do? So I turned it into a comedy match. Made them laugh. Make them laugh at you, and now they're into it.
Absolutely.
Change finish and everything. Just totally change it.
Well,
you know,
that
do goofy spots like
you talk about doing. You talk about doing the serious. I was working. It was a show probably in Childersburg, something like that. In somewhere in that area. I was tag team partner with Foots.
Okay.
And somebody keeps calling me. I don't know who it is. It must be Jim Cornette. We're taking his heat.
Yeah.
I was working with Foots against the Armstrongs. And he went to throw Foots off, and he turned around and said something to me and Carney.
Oh, no.
Nowhere in my training was I taught Carney. I had heard it and tried to learn it on my own. So he basically, I'm not going to say any Carney because I don't want these kids growing up thinking because they heard something they know a language.
Yeah.
But he threw me off and basically asked me to give him the knee. And up until Foots got about a foot and a half from me, I figured it out. And I got the knee up.
Yeah. Wow.
and you talk about working with the Armstrongs and nobody was taking you serious. I have never been in a match with Scott, Steve, Bob, anything that I could never take it seriously because I'm sitting in there laughing.
Oh,
Luckily, I wore the mask.
yeah.
It
I used to tell Bob we was on TBS station, and Bob asked for me and Randy, him and Brad. You know, Bob can't see. Once he pulls them glasses off, he blinds bad.
He's blind, yeah.
And and his eyes does funky things, you know. And he said, "Hit me, Alan, hit me," and I nailed him in the side of the head, and he made one eye go right here, you know, right. Kept one straight, one this way, and we was on TBS station. And he goes, "I can't see you. Hit me on the other side, knock my eye back straight."
Oh man!
God. Now Bob, when he had the book, he was serious. He didn't joke. He didn't do nothing. I mean, just straight booker. Now, and he would get mad at you if you did unserious stuff. I was with the Moondog, the Rex, Moondog Rex,
Right.
and I did where I locked up with him, and I told Moondog put me in a headlock. He did, and I says, "I'm gonna shoot y'all. You give me a tackle. I'm gonna drop down. I want you to jump over me and jump back, like, you know, over and right back." And I said, "I want you to get on all fours and act like you're a dog and pee on my head." And he says, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Sure, let's do it." And I did it. I cleared the ring when I did that. Bob, we was in a 6-man. It was Scott, Bob, and Moondog against me, Tony, and Jerry Stubbs. And Ollie Dangerously walked us to the ring. Everybody had to walk away. And I'm talking about belly laughing. And I couldn't stop. And it was so funny. And Bob told me, "Don't you ever do that to me again." I never will forget poor old Bob. He was so mad at me.
Bob didn't break character much.
No, not much.
But you talk about Bob being blind. I found that out the hard way. He set me back in the corner and said, "Don't move." He was going to chop me.
Yeah.
And I hit the corner and came up about 1/4 of an inch to an inch. And he caught me. I was checking the handprint on my back. You know, but you
and something else that the younger guys don't have to do anymore. Dues.
Right.
I know it, man.
Yeah. Nobody pays dues anymore.
You tell one of these kids now they got to set up a wrestling ring and they'd look at you upside your head.
Yeah. Are you crazy? Yeah.
Well,
oh, dude, I hauled the ring, set the ring up, refereed in it. You know, for a long time there, when I worked for Continental, the first, I was referee. You know, I still wrestled in Mike's shows and TBS, but I was a referee.
Didn't they call you the gum chewing referee?
Yes, sure did. and Bob got on to me for chewing gum because I was sitting there beside him, and Bob was doing an interview, and I was waiting on the next match, and I'm sitting there just chewing gum. and the camera cut, and he turned to me and said, "Don't ever chew gum in my ring again." I swallowed it. Yes, sir.